You've reached the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. Welcome once again for those new listeners. The Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast is as I said, a sports betting podcast. It's not for the professional, but what we'd like to do here is not only look at picks, including what we're going to look at is the NFL wildcard weekend, but we're also look at the sports betting experience, the beginners, the long-time folks on weekends looking for action on soccer, football, baseball, pretty much anything that you can find on TV or online. This is the podcast for you. We want to hear from you. You can join us on Twitter, not Twinner. Who the hell says Twinner? But I did. Twitter at the Overrated Experience. It's you can reach us at Overrated, EXPER 2 on Twitter. Want to hear from you. Get your picks, get your thoughts, get your experiences. I want to hear about your bad beats. I want to hear about your big wins, your crazy parlays, your crazy teasers, lessons learned, things that made you a better that you can share with everybody else here as part of the Overrated Experience sports betting faction. So just join us on Twitter. Let's go. Let's kick it off here. But we're going to talk about this week. We're going to focus predominantly on the biggest betting action of the weekend. That is the NFL wildcard action going into the first week of the playoffs. But first, before we get into those games, just a few opening comments about some sporting, or actually betting lessons that I've learned. I know that coming into the new year, I think we all had some New Year's resolutions to improve our betting and our bankroll management and our habits to be more like a pro going into 2023. I can tell you that I still fall into the same traps, and the over-unders are my bread and butter. That's why part of the reason for the name of the podcast is the Overrated Experience. I get suckered in to a low over-under hanging out there. In this NFL weekend, I got suckered into a lot of over-unders that I felt were too low, like the Jets, Dolphins I think we're at ended 37.5, and it's just when I see an under 40, I feel like I got to take it, or I'd regret not taking it. But it just shows the bad habits I continue to have as a square better, jumping in on that game, which was ridiculously low as a field goal battle, terrible game, battle of backup quarterbacks. Nothing went my way, and complete opposite of the way I thought that game would go. But my mind was on that low over-under that made me gravitate to that game. It's like walking by a window, just something's grabbing your attention, you walk in like an idiot and make a purchase of something you're never going to use. That was my experience on the weekend. I just sat there looking at the Lions thinking, you know what, that plus money line, let's throw some money at it. Didn't do it because I thought better of it. Don't take a chance. You're getting kind of hammered here as far as your picks already this Sunday, and decided to take Green Bay, and guess what happened there? They can't knock off the Lions, and Green Bay is out of the playoffs. Just some bad habits once again. And guess what? Other bad habits that have formulated throughout the weekend, that is chasing 1 o'clock or a couple games don't go your way. Then you start looking, okay, what can I race a bet into? How can I get that bet down? How can I do live and play? What's at halftime? What's that commercial? Let me jump in. Let me follow this game. And it just these are bad ideas. These are bad habits that not only myself, I'm sure you can relate to. We got to squash. We can't be doing these things. And going on to the Monday night, not NFL, but the college championship game, TCU taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. TCU made it to that Monday night game by knocking off Michigan. Georgia squeaked by Ohio State. But there was no question, obviously, who the real team was. Georgia crushed TCU. This was a waste of time. TCU had no business even being on the same field as Georgia. It was like a fight where, for 60 minutes, one fighter was punching, the other one was eating those punches, and there was no fight back whatsoever. I kept chasing that TCU would in the fourth quarter, at least score one touchdown. They were already scored 7 points. You got to feel that Georgia started putting their backups in. We're talking the depth chart of Georgia. They were going to second, third stringers, and they were still putting pressure on TCU. Quarterback could not. It was just ugly. It was just very ugly. The wrong team made it there. TCU was a great story, but sometimes the story ends badly, and TCU. You got embarrassed. It's kind of embarrassing. You probably should have, the better story probably would have been a close loss to Michigan. Brutal. TCU, you shit the bed. So our boy H. Dilla with his shit the bed theory, his saying, it's holds true in that game on Monday night. Not much other news and notes, but as we go into wildcard weekend, we look at some 6 matchups. 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday nighter. And let's kick it off. Let's get it going. It's a late night here on a Thursday. I want to run through this, get out of here, post it, so you can listen and I can hear your feedback. This time I predominantly used the FanDuel versus Bet365. Not saying that it won't throw in a Bet365 play that was not available on FanDuel. But I predominantly have been using FanDuel over the last few months, so I'm going to try this week using the FanDuel lines. But I will recommend that there is a benefit of having multiple books. I had that experiment looking at Sports Interaction and FanDuel. I can tell you, Sports Interaction has some good lines better lines than FanDuel, but the options on Sports Interaction are very limited. And if you like props, player props, and very specific bets that Bet365 will offer you, and many of them, those bets will also be on FanDuel. Sports Interaction is not for you. I also didn't like the fact that Sports Interaction kind of limited and started limiting parlays that you might use alternate. Let's say take a hockey game and drop the alternate total down of the over-under and try to parlay it with another game. They would cut you off and say, here's your max. And just, that doesn't sit well with me, to be very honest. I'm not putting $10,000 on these games. So, $100 here or whatever should not force them into providing me a limitation of what I can put through. So, not impressed by Sports Interaction. However, Sports Interaction usually has ongoing deposit bonuses, especially during football season, to take advantage of, so they're good in that fashion. But I'll stick to FanDuel. Bet365 still the appropriate site you most likely want to start out with, and then add in the FanDuels or the DraftKings or those other sites as your ulterior betting comparisons. And that is my feedback on that topic. So let's jump right into the wildcard weekend. First game we're going to see at 4:30 on Saturday is the Seattle Seahawks taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are a 9.5-point favorite on FanDuel. I really don't know if anybody really believes the Seattle Seahawks have a chance. Of course, everybody has a chance. There's always an upset. The NFL is weird that way. But that the question here is, to me, mostly, will San Fran cover that 9.5? How I see this game playing out is that maybe Seattle starts with the ball. Maybe they score a quick touchdown, a la Arizona did last week in the final week of the season and jumped out ahead of San Francisco. But, San Francisco, I believe, is going to grind this game out and put pressure and force the Seahawks into throwing and putting them chasing the game and making bad throws. And San Francisco's defense is going to eat them up. So that 9.5 does not look too high to me. I think when the dust is settled at the end of this game, the 49ers basically kick the Seahawks' ass. Probably 10 plus is 9.5 is probably too low. And maybe it hits 10, maybe it hits 10.5 by Saturday 4:30. So if you like the 9.5, which I think I do, hit it. I hate taking spreads, to be honest. If I'm an action player and I want to take the upset, but nothing here is screaming Seattle. They have limped and kind of got lucky to get into the playoffs. Geno Smith is turning back into an average quarterback, not getting the ball in the hands of his weapons, the Lockett's and the Metcalfs, and that's a problem. Some interesting wagers I'll suggest here. Team total for San Francisco on FanDuel is 26 at minus 112. I mean, again, I know they got Brock Purdy in their quarterback, but they also got Christian McCaffrey and 35 other weapons to throw at you. I mean, you got to look at, they're not only going to, have those weapons march down the field, but their D is going to probably have a few turnovers, win the field position battle. So 26 points seems kind of low to me, and I think that might be 26 points by the third quarter. So I think that's a good bet there. Interesting, same game parlays, popular to you, me, and everybody else on the planet now. One I would take a stab at is taking San Francisco alternate spread 2.5. Again, I think 9.5 is good. 2.5 is a no-brainer to me. Throw in Geno Smith, 200 plus yards. Geno Smith is going to be throwing, trying to keep up. He struggled against the 49ers in Seattle to put up his specific over total. But 200 yards, I think, is low enough where he's going to be chasing the game, where he's going to have to put the ball in the air. And I think he'll get a few big chunk plays. And maybe, by the third quarter, the 49ers are dropping back, giving those 10, 11 yards just to, keep the clock going. Who knows? And add in there Christian McCaffrey, 50-plus yards rushing. And $100 pays $234.25, which is a $134 profit. So perfect there. Also, something I'm putting question marks beside this pick. In that Arizona game against San Francisco last week was kind of a reason why I put this out there. But race to 5. I haven't seen this on Bet365, but FanDuel has a race to 5 points. And Seattle is plus 172. They may start with the ball, right? They may start with the ball. And something to keep in mind, that they could put up a quick touchdown. Maybe there's a Brock Purdy interception. Just for plus 132, throw $25 on it. There's some value there. But also a lot of value I see here. Christian McCaffrey over 74.5 yards at minus 114. Last time he played in Seattle, he rushed for 108 yards. In the last 3 of 5 games, he rushed over, that total. So, McCaffrey is going to get the rock. I know Brock Purdy, again, has shown some good things, but let's not kid ourselves. He's a caretaker. Christian McCaffrey is your boy, or Shanahan's boy, and he's going to get the rock, and he's going to crush that yard total. Lock it in. And that is the story on Seattle-San Fran. And the evening game on Saturday is the Battle of the Hair. You have, or the Battle of the 70s show characters. You got Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. I was going to say Joey Lawrence, but that's not the case. Both guys with, the flowing hair, for luck. I don't know why, but they to each his own, I guess. So the Chargers are actually a 2.5 point favorite with the Jags. This is kind of a tighter matchup than the 49er game. So that brings me to just give you a note for you bettors out there. Something that changes during the playoffs, and the reason I bring this up is if this game happens to go to overtime. The overtime rule changes in the playoffs versus the regular season. The regular season, yes, each team could possess the ball. However, if the team that possessed the ball first scores a touchdown or there's a defensive safety scored, the game's over. Not here in the playoffs. Things have changed. Both teams are guaranteed point or a possession. So let's say the Chargers score a touchdown in overtime. The Jaguars will still get the ball, even though the Jaguars scored a touchdown on their first possession. So it's something to keep in mind if it goes to overtime and you decide to put a wager on there. Or maybe affecting the over-under too. That's actually that's a factor as well. But I'll tell you what. I like the Jags. Plus 118 on FanDuel. I don't hear a lot of chatter or reference at all to the Jags heading to LA in week 3 and smoking the Chargers 38-10. Don't see much reference to that as a reason why the Jaguars, who are playing at home, by the way, and who are one of the hottest teams in the last few weeks, I see the Jaguars pulling this out at home. I think, there's a lot of attention to the Chargers, Justin Herbert, for the right reasons. He slings the ball. He's a great quarterback. He'll be a great quarterback for a long period of time. But keep in mind, both quarterbacks have never been in an NFL playoff game. It's a different ballgame. Pressure's on. Coaching decisions will be different. It will not be the same Chargers, I don't believe, into this game. This is where I'm thinking even under 47.5, but I'm not going to take the under, but it's worth noting. I just can't do it. It'll make me sick if I took the over-under, sitting there watching that game on a Saturday night. Bet365, shifting away from FanDuel. Interesting wager here. Think of the coaches, Bradley, Peterson. Plus 320 for a successful 2-point conversion. That's a hell of a bet. That is money right there. These coaches go for 2 like nothing. Especially Peterson. He might go for 2. 1 penalty offside to move the ball to the 1-yard line. The game gets to the third quarter. These coaches are the best examples of a game that might have multiple 2-point conversion attempts. And even early in the game, if there's a 1-point difference, somebody's going to chase. Somebody's going to have to go for 2 points. So plus 320 is a steal. And that's pretty much all I got for that game. As obviously as time approaches, I'll probably make some stupid decision to take the over, even though I like the over under. But that's just, hey, that's called the overrated experience, like I said. Moving on to Sunday, and 2 of the 3 matchups, I don't really see much of a competitive game and hope for. And let's start off with the Dolphins and the Buffalo. They're 13.5-point underdogs. And Skylar Thompson looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback. I think Teddy Bridgewater has a shot. I do understand that he has a broken pinky finger or dislocated pinky finger or severed pinky. I don't know. Who knows? Either way, they're not good enough. The Dolphins, I honestly really only have a chance if Tua was in the lineup and maybe a slight chance with Bridgewater and 0 chance with Skylar Thompson. He looked garbage last week against the Jets. When a guy drops back and he starts looking around, it seemed like for 3 minutes looking for his reads. That's not a good sign. And the Miami Dolphins are built to get the ball in the hands of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and there's a risk that that may not happen with Skylar Thompson. So I don't think there's much of a game here. Bills, I don't like betting a 13.5-point spread either. But what I do like is that FanDuel actually has I'm not sponsored by FanDuel. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing here. FanDuel actually has a promotion going on right now where you bet a max $50. It's called FanDuel Spread the Love. Every 500 people that bet on this prop bet, the Buffalo Bills get another point added to their spread. And right, by the way, that they provided the Bills a minus 10.5 point spread. Now it's actually all the way to plus 45.5. So meaning that you're pretty much guaranteed $50 at minus 110, which is a $45 payout. So something to keep an eye on. Now I was going to come in here and tell you that the prop bet I liked was Tyreek Hill receiving yards 59.5 under. Now, if you listen to this podcast week over week, the majority of the time the Tyreek Hill prop of the over was a steal. Now, before I was about to recommend this, I thought, well, Tyreek Hill has to be in the game plan, and one touch from Tyreek Hill could hit 60 yards plus. So I'm going to put it on the board and say over 59.5. And maybe the only highlight the Dolphins have of this weekend is a 1-yard pass from Skylar Thompson and 70-yard receiving touchdown. I don't know, I'm just going to say touchdown, but Tyreek Hill is a special player. I'm going to back a special player. Last but not least on this game, Bills over 27.5. These guys are going to be jacked. I mean, they have, obviously they're dealing with a lot, and their emotions are absolutely on level, off the charts. So they might run up the score here and have a good time. So that's, not much of a game here, to be honest. And you're probably going to stick to prop bets to make this game interesting. Now, an interesting game. I got to think, I was on the fence on this one, but the Giants visit Minnesota, -3, Vikings favorite. I was thinking, it's not out of, I don't trust the Vikings at all, but you got to make a decision here. You got a decision if you're going with Vikings or you're going with the upset. I'm going to go on with the Vikings. I don't think they're going to go far, but I think they probably get past the Giants. So here's what I like here. If you take the Vikings and you parlay it with the Bengals, put $100 on that parlay, you're going to get a $95 profit. Again, Bengals I think are a lock, and we'll get to that. But if you like the Vikings, decent play there. Some of the props that stand out in this game, Daniel Jones, I've squeaked by in his passing yards, but I have a feeling it's just going to be him and Saquon Barkley on this one. I think he's either going to throw short or he's going to take off from the pocket. And his rushing yard total is 38.5, -118. I'll take it. Now, here's another lesson that I've learned, is that good teams find ways to win, and good players find ways to be successful. Bad teams find ways to lose, and bad players, they find ways not to hit your props. So I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson here. Now, normally his over-under for passing yards, it was in the 78, 79 mark, 74 throughout the season. It's up to 95.5 and -114. Well, he demands the ball. He's their star. I'm going to ride it. I'm going to ride Justin Jefferson. He's the guy. So I'm going to take the over on Justin Jefferson, 95.5. It's common for him to hit this total and more, so I have faith that he's money on this one. Also, same game parlay for this. If you like the Vikings, don't completely trust them, but I'm going to go with them anyway. If you take the Vikings, add in Justin Jefferson, 70 yards plus receiving, and I think Barkley for the Giants Saquon Barkley is going to get the rock a lot. That 60-plus rush will get you a nice payout as well. I forgot to record it, what that was, but trust me, it's plus money and worth the same game parlay in that game. Now, quickly, moving on to the Ravens and Bengals, 9.5. The only play I like in this game is Bengals 9.5. 10 or more, Bengals will win. It's going to go up. If you like it, you probably want to take it now. Ravens are going to be without Lamar Jackson. Everything's pointing that he's not going to play. He's sending out tweets talking about his PCL level 2. He's not going to play. Looks like it's a no-go for him. And you know what? Lamar was their only shot. Hundley, the backup quarterback, I don't even know if he's going to play. He looks questionable. So Anthony Brown, quarterback, third string, man, they got no shot. It's over for the Ravens. I'm going to say it's over for the Ravens with a caveat. I do believe that John Harbaugh, Ravens head coach, is probably one of the best coaches in the last 5 to 6 years. He's a winner. He's smart. He adapts. And, we're talking about two division opponents who know each other very well. And the only shot they have is that their D steps up, shuts down Joey Burrow, puts pressure, keeps pressure, wins field position. It's possible. I mean, week 1, the Steelers walked into Cincinnati and knocked off the Bengals. It can happen. The odds are very low. I don't see it happening, but Never count out John Harbaugh and the plan he's going to bring into Sunday. If you have hope for the Ravens, there's a glimmer, but I really have nothing else to play on that one. Now here's the value, I think, of the week. The value is the Monday Nighter. I don't know what you feel about a playoff game and a Monday Nighter. Whatever, it's fine. Cowboys. I grew up hating the Cowboys. I hated Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin. Obviously, I think Dak Prescott is very likable, so it's hard to cheer against Dak Prescott. Tom Brady's my boy. Tom Brady's the GOAT, and it kills me to say this, and it kills me to do this, but everything's pointing that the right play here is the Cowboys. I think they're undervalued. I know what happened last week against Washington. They got lit up. I don't get it. I don't know how that happened. Washington had nothing to play for, but they lit up the Cowboys. Cowboys looked terrible. But I think that's a blip in the radar. Cowboys come in as 2.5-point favorites. I think that's too low. I think the Cowboys probably win this handily. I think the Bucs have lost me and my faith as the year's gone on. I know that they had some dramatic comebacks on a few occasions, but their offense has stuttered so bad that I just can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I got to say bye. I got to let it go. I got to let go, like the scene of Titanic. I got to let Leo go, and that's it. So Tom's got to go. And I think it's it for him, and I just hope he doesn't hang on and do something crazy like follow Sean Payton to, let's say, Miami as a quarterback. Just let it go. It's over. Okay? Do I hope that Tom wins? Yeah, I do. I want to see another Super Bowl run. So it's not like I'm going to be upset if the Cowboys don't come through. Maybe I'll be emptier in the pocket, but I do want to see Tom win this game. But my head's got to be the thing thinking here that they're going to get me paid. So Cowboys -2.5. Some of the props I like: Dak Prescott over 1.5 touchdown passes, -120. Why not? He goes to the air all the time. Tom Brady, I don't know if I'll take this or not, but it's like +200 that Brady has at least 1 yard rushing. He's been scrambling more. Almost 45 or 45 right now, and he's actually not afraid to take off the ball to get a couple yards. So that's an interesting play that I'm going to ponder going into that game. +200 for Tom Brady to get at least 1 rushing yard. The only hope that the Bucs have is, and I got to believe that Tom Brady's going to fill Mike Evans with passes, and his over-under for passing yards is 64.5. And there's got to be at least 3 passes that might be +20, and at least 65 yards or more. So I like that a lot. Cowboys, 23.5-point team total, -112. I think that's a steal. I think they put up a lot of points here. Also, think about the Dallas D. You think they're not going to have a turnover, at least a few sacks and fumbles and turnovers? 23.5 is very, very low value. Take it now while you can. And here's one I thought was weird. Dak Prescott, passing yards, 243.5, -114. 8 of the last 10 weeks, he's surpassed that. No problem. So what? I don't understand what's happening with this total. I think he's going to have to go to the air. I think the Bucs will shut down the run. I know they're I just see them going to the air more. Even flare outs to Elliott or Pollard, and he's going to light it up. So I hate to say it, but it's Cowboys all day. And how about them Cowboys? It makes me want to throw up my mouth a little bit, but it's going to be a Cowboys day. Now, again, this is a late night Thursday. I'm done the football picks. I want to hear from you on Twitter. Overrated EXPER2 at Overrated EXPER2 on Twitter. I want to hear from you. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Pleasure's been all yours. Over and out.